A resume is not just your work history. It is a curated summary of any information about yourself that can get you into the interview and justify the hiring decision. I've reviewed almost 2,000 resumes now over the course of my career. Couple that with teaching 8 semesters worth of college classes on career readiness and talking to over 1,000 different companies' recruiters, and I've developed a pretty clear sense of what does and doesn't work on resumes. And so today I want to break down what works. From the formatting to the sections to the bullet points, these are the things on resumes that actually work. It's a lot to go over, so please be sure to like this video and subscribe if you are new, and let's just get right into it. The most important part of formatting is skimmability. Look at these 2 education sections and tell me which one is better. It's obviously the one on the left. But why? Because you can glance at it and quickly and easily understand the applicant's situation. And this is important for 3 reasons. First and foremost, it's because hiring managers are spending less than 15 seconds looking at a resume before deciding whether or not to interview somebody. Native English speakers do this thing where they read in an F shape, and so if you want information to stand out on a resume and be skimmable, it needs to be towards the top and it needs to be towards the left. And so ideally, things like your job titles and your degree names should be bolded because that's going to stand out a lot more than, say, the company you worked at. The second reason formatting matters is because you don't want the best information to become invisible. If you bold the wrong things, or if you have hard to read paragraphs, a hiring manager might not see that and just assume you don't have what they're looking for. You want to make it as easy as humanly possible for another human being who does not know you and does not know your experiences to look at your document and understand, okay, they have X, Y, and Z that I am looking for. Let's bring them in for an interview. That's not only going to help you fit into the role, but it's also going to help you stand out from other candidates for reason number 3, which is that a well-formatted resume demonstrates both professional self-awareness and good communication skills. If you can't even format a legible document, then that signals that you don't take yourself seriously, you're not a good communicator, and you can't be trusted with this company's financial future. I have seen everyone from Harvard graduates to aerospace engineers get outright dismissed by HR teams simply because their resume looks bad. And it's not a superficial reason either. Like, this is a good litmus test to find underlying red flags in a candidate. In the same way that someone smelling poorly, dressing badly, or being mean to a waiter is a sign that they're probably not a good person to keep going on dates with, having a bad resume is a sign that you aren't a professional yet. But getting your format under control is one of the most effective ways to start becoming one. But let's set that aside and really get into the meat and potatoes of the document. I want you to get out of this mindset that a resume is just contact information, the name of your college degree, and W-2 paid work history. Resume comes from resumere in Latin and is cognate with the word summary in English. And a resume is exactly that. It is a strategic summary of information about you that relates to the job description that you're applying to. And so if you want to start doing that effectively, then you need to get creative about what types of sections you're including on the resume. So when you're a professor, you have this thing called an academic CV, which breaks up professional information about yourself by category. You don't just say that you got a PhD and be done with it. No, you break up that experience by things like degrees, research publications, conference talks that you've given, courses taught, lab experience, and all of those things you might have done while you were a PhD student. But instead of thinking about your PhD in terms of a specific title or just the degree, you think about it in terms of categorical experiences that you got. And as a job seeker, you can do the exact same thing. Sure, your resume has to be 1 or 2 pages in order to work in the real world, but you can be creative about what sections you include on those 1 to 2 pages. Study abroad, awards, volunteer experience, classroom hours, flight hours. There are an infinite amount of possible sections that you could include on a resume. And so the way you decide what to include or what to prioritize is by going through the job description and thinking about what categories of information matter to them. Is the description focusing on certain technical skills? Do they value cultural awareness and maybe something like a study abroad or languages that you speak could relate to that? Is it your involvement in industry-specific events like conferences? go through the job description and identify X, Y, and Z that they're looking for that most strongly relates to what you bring to the table. It's what R1 universities do in order to help their students land prestigious jobs, and it's what you can do to launch into your dream career. Side note, but this is also super helpful if you don't have a lot of traditional or related experience to put on your resume. I made a separate video about this topic, but the gist is that having a strategy about the sections that you include can help you relate to more jobs more effectively and can really help you get that career snowball going. Okay, now let's talk bullet points. This is the context that you give to all of your experiences so that a hiring manager can actually understand what it means. And they're important because they're the thing that demonstrate transferable skills from one job to the next. And so a bad bullet point is one that is either too job description-y or too cliche. This is saying things like, was a team player or followed cleanliness standards. Those types of bullet points don't actually mean anything to another person, at least not in a way that matters. So instead, what you want to do is go beyond what you did and prioritize talking about how you did it and why you did it. Basically talk about the skills you used, the responsibilities that you had, and the outcomes related to the work that you did. There are a bunch of different methods that you can use to write an effective bullet point. Business bros really love the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, results. The federal government really likes the CAR method, which stands for challenge, action, results. And universities tend to favor success statements, which is an action verb followed by a skill you used or a responsibility that you had, then concluded with some quantified outcome of the work that you did. It doesn't really matter which of these approaches that you use, so long as you're going beyond just what you did and you're also talking about how and why you did something. And again, ideally talking about it in a way that relates to the job description that you're applying to. Good formatting, being mindful of your sections, and having bullet points that focus on transferable skills is ultimately what works on a resume. I'm releasing 2 more videos about resumes this week, one about what to do when you don't have any relevant experience, and another one about AI resumes, whether they're worth it, how you should go about using one effectively. So please be sure to subscribe to this channel to get notified about those, and I will also link them right here in this playlist.